What are you up to?
Well, I was just writing an article on air quality.
Really?
Yeah, I've been looking at what happens when you lay your head down on the pillow at night. So basically, everything that's in the hair and on the skin, pollen, dander, dust, it all can just fall down on the pillow, and you're breathing that while you're sleeping. Isn't that
Wow.
awful?
And microparticles from automobile or like,
Yeah, anything that the hair is collected throughout the day. So,
so what's some ways around that?
well, for me, I like to take my shower in the evening. So, if you can wash out your hair, that's really the way to go. I've also seen Dr. Bishop use a hair dryer, and that also is kind of a cool way to just blow everything out of your hair before you settle down for the night. And then, of course, changing your sheets and your pillowcase regularly will
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, and just even if you change your pillowcase every night, that's another idea, or every day. And that's another way of getting around it.
Yeah, well, today is all about air quality. So, what about other things that are on the bed or near the bed that can cause problems?
Well, you taught me about microfibers. There's a lot of sheets that are made with microfibers and perhaps even our teddy bears. So holding those or sleeping with them, we could be breathing those in and they can be irritating.
Absolutely. And also anything that's fabric, like a stuffed animal or a throw blanket that you use on the couch or a throw pillow, anything with fabric will be collecting dust throughout its entire lifetime. So these are things that can be vacuumed or treated in other ways to keep those things from getting into your system.
Right. There's a lot of things we can do in the bedroom or the house. We could use a ultraviolet light up in the air handler for your air conditioner heater. Also, you can buy individual ones like we have right there as a HEPA filters with the ultraviolet light, so it kills all the bugs. Probably see those blue lights at supermarkets and hospitals. They kill all the germs in the air. And also the filters help filter things out. So those are some of the things we can do in the room. Overhead fans are actually can be irritating too because they blow up the dust in the room. So one of the things I do sometimes is I turn on the air cleaner in the room on high for an hour before I go to sleep. So that way I know. And I always wake up a little bit better in the morning.
Right. So we're talking about having a standalone air filter in your room. And this would have several components to it. It would have a HEPA filter, it would have possibly a UV light, possibly an air ionizer. So these are just different components of your air purifier. But what I found when I was doing my research is that people forget to change the filters in the air filter, so it becomes useless. So I know that for myself, I put a schedule in my online calendar for when to change the filter, both in the air handler for the entire house and also for the ones in the individual rooms.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen that a lot where air quality's gotten bad, and I'm at a friend's house, and really, I go and kind of peek at their filter, and it's black. They haven't changed it at all. Other things I pay
Hmm.
attention to, because we're in South Florida, is the pollen on the weather. So, the wind blows from every direction here. So sometimes we're getting um, algae blooms from the ocean. We're getting Sahara dust coming over. We get pollens from the Northeast, the Midwest, and from the South and South America. So we're getting all kinds of things there. So I pay attention to that. Um,
Yeah, there's definitely a balance between wanting to bring fresh air into your house and blowing out things that are collecting in your indoor air and wanting to keep your exposure down from allergens and things that are outside. So it's really a balancing act. And what Dr. Bishop is talking about with your pollen count forecasts, that can help you decide if that's one of those days that you're going to air out your house or not.
Yeah, definitely. And you can use a respiratory mask. When I lived in Japan, often on pollen count days or days that there was volcanic ash in the air from volcanoes going up, people would wear these masks to cut down how much was going into their lungs, and they found it quite helpful. Other cool thing is, we're at sea level here, but when you go in vacation in the mountains, if you're several thousand feet up, your body actually produces more red blood cells to grab oxygen. So what I think is really cool is if you're up there, I think it's a week, 5 to 7 days, your body will produce these red blood cells, which stick around for, 180 days. That's the lifespan of a red blood cell. But when you go back down to sea level, you actually have more of them and you're able to grab more oxygen. So you actually have a little more energy,
That sounds helpful.
definitely. Well, something else you taught me about was VOCs, and I thought you were being kind of a high maintenance Miami model, but you were right.
Right. VOCs stands for volatile organic compounds. And these are chemicals that are designed to be released into the air. So if you have a cologne, the cologne chemicals are designed to be released in the air because that makes the cologne work. But there are also VOCs in other scented things, like in your laundry detergent, in your dishwasher detergent, and other cleaning chemicals in your house. So these are things that can irritate you, irritate your sinuses, and we found um, fairly recently that there's a big impact from the dishwasher, depending on what you use. So tell us about what happened with your dishwasher.
So he was telling me that he could, he was being irritated in his throat and is by the dishwasher when he ran it. So I thought he was a little cray cray there. So I started paying attention, and he was right. We would cough a little bit, we'd be irritated a little bit. So what we did is we ended up opening the front door and the back door, which is easy to do in Florida, and we aired out the house when at the end of the cycle,
Yeah,
and it got rid of it.
right. So venting out chemicals that are collecting indoors over time can be a great way to improve your breathing when you're indoors a lot. What about the air ionizers? Sometimes they're part of a larger air purifier, sometimes they're standalone. What have you found with those?
Well, I used to have one in my clinic, and one of the patients said, if you run that all day long, it'll irritate the back of your throat. And she was right. So what I learned to do is I turn it on for 5 minutes. Had an air cleaner, and then ionizer was optional. And I would turn it on for 5 minutes to get rid of the smell and then turn it off. And it was much more pleasant that way.
Well, what other things that are airborne can affect breathing and the immune system? We have definitely seen that having to do with pets in the home, there are major issues.
Yes, there's some things you can do with your pet, more frequent baths. And also, there are some animal dander products to get it down. Of course, vacuuming more often, but it can be a trigger, obviously, for allergies. And of course, you can put in air handlers in each room and things like that. There's also other things that can get into your house from if you're over a flight path of an airplane or next to a busy road. And in fact, on your morning commute, make sure you're not getting the air from the outside in because you're just bringing in all this exhaust and these particles from the combustion engine. So you can also change the filters in your car cabin, the cabin of your car, and also there's optional additional filters that you can plug into your cigarette lighter too that you can use.
If you find that you're irritated in your home and you're not quite sure why in your breathing, then check out other things that might be releasing VOCs, like cheap candles, uh, soaps, shampoos, colognes, all your cleaning products. Go for the unscented or the free and clear version and see if that helps reduce some of your irritation.
Yeah, I remember we were in a hotel and I was using the hand cream and it had that strong scented, and I started sneezing. And I don't think of myself as someone sensitive to smell at all. But since COVID, I guess the isolation or something, I really, my nose is extra sensitive. Um, but I'm still, I don't think of myself as sensitive to everything.
Another issue that can be found in the home is mold. And mold is something that grows on a surface, but it also periodically breaks off and can be exposed to it, and it can cause breathing problems. So I know damp indoor air is a big contributor to mold growth if you live in a high humidity area. And also, it can grow on damp clothes and cause your clothes to smell.
You can have a mold specialist come and take readings for it. And sometimes mold is in some strange places, wherever there might be water. Of course, the showers and sinks like that, but underneath the cabinets. So make sure you check for that.
So, Dr. Bishop, what have you seen clinically with people and their breathing problems?
Well, one thing that was always a surprise, again, was the sleep apnea, that they didn't know they had sleep apnea. But even if they knew and they had the machine, they weren't cleaning the machine properly. You have to clean that every night or every morning. And they were just reinfecting themselves. And another one was musicians with music wind instruments. So those were, they weren't cleaning them properly. So it was infected, and then they keep putting it back in through their mouth. And a lot of Florida's mixed, but a lot of people in Florida take their shoes off at the door. Most of the world does it, and some people don't. But whatever you walk through with your shoes or flip flops or whatever, you're going to bring into the house. So that could be, particles and things like that. And then if you're later walking around barefoot and you get it in, then you get it in your bed, or your pets could track through it and jump on you or jump on your furniture, or your jump on your, dining room table, that type of stuff. And then you have what was you walk through outside all over your house. So, take your shoes off at the door. It's a good idea. Most of the world does that. And I think another one I see is, a lot less people smoke now, cigarettes, and smoking is at an all-time low in America. But vaping has gone up. So vaping has some combustibles in there, butane and some other things. And now the studies are starting to come out that is leading to respiratory problems.
Well, going back to the home, if you're noticing that you're having problems breathing after you're washing dishes in the sink or taking your hot shower, think about the possibility that chlorine and other chemicals are escaping from the hot water into the air and causing problems for you. So I know for myself, if I'm spending a lot of time over the sink with hot water, I make sure that my face is not directly above the hot water steam. Also, you can take some steps to purify the hot water coming from your shower, which we talk about in one of our videos. And also, it can help if you just ventilate your bathroom while you're taking a shower to allow some of that steam to escape and not go directly into your lungs.
Exactly. Well, another thing I like with the mold is laundry sanitizer.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I
Hmm.
really like that stuff. I'm glad that product came out. I just feel my clothes are pretty much cleaner and things like that. What do you do for your breathing?
Well, like I said, there are definitely things that I can avoid and mitigate, which we talked about. But what about actually cleaning out your sinuses? That is, I think, a key for many people and for myself. And oftentimes I will just get in the shower with a little cup with baking soda and um, salt and create a saline solution out of that and pour that into my nostrils and clean out my sinuses that way. There are neater ways to do it if you don't want to do it in the shower. And another thing that I use is a nasal spray with oil of oregano, and that has been very helpful for clearing out my sinuses. One other thing is if you live near the ocean, then you can swim in the ocean, and there are lots of salts in the water there that can help to clean out your sinuses. And also just being able to clean off your face every time you're exposed to a lot of dust. For example, if you're cleaning a lint filter in your clothes dryer, a lot of that gets released onto your face and cause irritation. Just go ahead and wash your face right after you're exposed. So, Dr. Bishop, you're an acupuncturist. Can acupuncture help with breathing problems?
Definitely. Clinically, I can tell you a few stories. There's a lot of patients that want to go off their medications, and legally, I can't tell them go off their medication. But with asthma patients, what we find is often they need their inhalers a lot less. And they need regular treatment, to be honest, and herbs are often very helpful. But instead of, using it 3 times a day or something like that, they go to once a week or once every couple weeks. So that's a great thing. And I had one friend, and he vapes a lot, and his lungs were getting worse and worse. And he went to a respiratory doctor, and his lung function was very poor, and he was having asthmatic problems. And we were at a conference. So what we did is we put him on a little bit of herbs. We cut down his vaping, and also I gave him acupuncture every day. And so it was like 4 or 5 days worth of acupuncture.
Mm.
And I wanted to prove to him he could improve his lung function because he was kind of like depressed that, this was it type of thing. And we improved it. So when he went back home, he got on a regimen of herbs and acupuncture. He still was using medication, and then he was able to reduce the amount of medication. But he had done some damage to his lungs, and that often doesn't come back. But we can improve the optimal function of what you're capable of doing with your medication and the acupuncture.
Well, that's great information about treatment. Today, we've gone over a lot of different concepts and ways to improve breathing and air quality. And if you're new to these concepts, just take 1 or 2 ideas away today and give those a try. And when you've tried them for a while, come back to the video and get a few more ideas. We believe that you will not regret doing these things to help your breathing.